Welcome to tonight's resources committee meeting. Have we got any apologies, please? Councillor Gately as well. That's what she gets. Are we happy to agree those?
Yes.
Sure. Thank you. Declarations of interest. I have one on the grant for year one. So if that is going to be discussed at all, then we'll pass over to the mayor because my vice chair is not here tonight. If everybody's in agreement for that.
Yeah.
I think I've got a declaration of interest about this talking about the Grant Citizens Advice Bureau.
Yeah, thank you.
I think you're about to do.
Anybody else on the grants?
No.
Thank you. Okay, minutes of the last meeting for the 9th of December and 13th of January. We're happy to agree those?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Right, budgets. We've got 4.1 our detailed income and expenditure index A. We'll go by the numbers in the top left-hand corner, 4 of 55. Five of 55. Six. Seven. Robin.
249 Sea Meadow toilet shop and ability income. Right, you make it out of that. Income, more income than expected. What did we do to get more income?
We hire wheelchairs out to people.
It's a bigger use. That's a good thing. That's a really good thing.
Yeah.
Shop mobility usage has increased quite significantly in the last 18 months.
Mm. Yeah. He's really good. I can't remember his name, but he's really lovely.
Adam?
Yes. So, yeah. Right, page 8. Line. Okay.
Another one, comedy night, more income than expected. All charter fair.
Dog show.
Dog show, yeah, they're all more income than expected. I think they're very good. Congratulate to staff for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Page 10. John.
Sorry, if Ron was going to say that, I was going to say something much good ending to it. More income than expected as well.
Yeah. I'm trying to be positive, John.
Yeah, I know too. I know too.
Page 11. And then we've got earmark reserves, page 12. Appendix B, purchase ledger, page 13. Fourteen. Fifteen. Sixteen. And that's that one. Yeah, Martin.
Might as well say to the all the staff, thank you very much, because these ledgers are really working now, and you just heard. Yes, they are legible as well. Yes. So we did have years when they worked, but these really work now. So
Okay, I will
Yeah,
pass that back. to
pass
Jodie.
that, Jo, yes.
Done it.
Yes, all the coding and everything else that goes on in the background, which is not an easy task sometimes. It is worth it and makes our life so much quicker that we can get home.
Thank you, Martin. She'll be pleased with that because she put a lot of work into it, so.
Yes.
Well done.
Yeah,
You haven't discussed it before, you wouldn't.
thank you, Martin. Okay. Let me just bring it back up to top. Right, fund transfers, we have none. Item 6, 1-year grants. So I hope that you have all read the report. And let's go to the report and recommendation. Has anybody got any comments on the grants, John?
Yeah, if I've read this right, connection support, which is, I think, based in Oxford. That's not the reason for raising the issue now, but I think it's not a local organisation. They appear to have got over £8 million in their bank account. I guess I'm wondering, that's not quite, we'll say 7 years worth of our budget for this town council, our whole budget. I'm just a bit uncomfortable with asking effectively the taxpayers of Buckingham, no matter how worthy, the voluminous material that we've sent through is, just whether we ought to be paying that amount of money. Very, very well off. Now, I appreciate, some charities need a bit of a float, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's a charity. Nonetheless, it does seem a bit excessive, should we say, when it comes to having some money in the back pocket just in case something can happen.
Okay, let's open that up for discussion then. You don't have to go with a recommendation. What do members think? Robin?
I hear what John said, but it's one of these things, I think, that they do lots of things all over the place for everybody else. I think it's reasonable that we give them money. I think it's also reasonable to question the amount of money they got in the account. We ought to really, if we don't agree, when we may lose it, and would be a little bit through the clerk, quite what they're going to use it for locally different to what's in the report. If there's anything, obviously they got through the due diligence, as it wouldn't be on here. So I find it a little bit challenging to say no, John, but I think you raised a good point about their money.
Right. Yeah, from our officer point of view, there was some consternation last year about the amount of judgment that officers have made. So this year we've very much just gone very factual. We've made no judgments at all as officers as to which is more or less worthy. We've simply referenced against the grants policy as to whether or not it is legitimate. So these are questions for members. We don't have a view. I mean, if I was going to be charitable, I would say if you're looking at their expenditure over the last year, it is less than what they have held. So I don't know whereabouts in the cycle of fundraising to expenditure they are at the snapshot that was handed over.
Anybody else got any thoughts on this one?
Can I just ask, I mean, it is, yeah, I can see this. And the way that the commas and the dots, it doesn't particularly make sense to me. Is it 8 million or is it 8,500? And it just doesn't seem to add up. I'm now on page 85 of 146. Sorry, it took me a while to raise this point because I needed to find it.
Yeah.
85.
Oh no, but the next one, it's got commas in it, so it does appear to be 8 million.
Yeah.
And they seem to have spent that much as well, or even more than that. But yeah, I mean, it is a size of an organisation that it feels like it dwarfs us, doesn't I understand. Comment. What was it? On the other hand, I mean, it's like they're doing a good job, and if it's specifically used for Buckingham.
Yeah, I think that's how I looked at it, is what work are they doing locally? They do seem to be doing good work. Robin?
Just different thing, I mean, I think that we're not, I propose that we haven't got a good reason not to turn it down, so I suppose we agree it, but a couple of things, we're funding £1,000 to the Buckingham Society fund a winter concert. I think that perhaps I agree that it's a good thing to fund, but just to make sure we get credited with that we funded the winter concert, really.
We do, don't we?
They should do, yeah.
No, I mean, otherwise
When you
it's
get
a
those
bit,
reports in.
if they're doing it and organising, that's fantastic, just to make sure that the council gets credited.
Yeah.
The other question to ask is, I occasionally go and watch Buckingham Football Club. That is not a prejudicial issue.
No.
And I sometimes drink beer down there as well.
Okay,
I'm happy with it.
yeah,
Yeah.
You can see it's local in Buckingham
Mm.
and so it's good.
yeah. John, did you put your hand up?
Yeah, I remain uncomfortable about this, because the report they've sent us seems to be one reporting on 2022. And not the more recent. I don't know, I'm reflecting on, we got burned, didn't we? By that organisation based in
Yeah.
Milton Keynes that we gave money to.
Yeah,
That basically never spent it and we lost money.
Yeah.
I don't know, it seems to be mostly focused on housing first in Milton Keynes. The dark thought occurred as well as to whether they're referring to Buckingham Shire as opposed to Buckingham Town. And the way it was written, I don't know. I genuinely don't know. I mean, I'd like to know whether they're making applications for grants to other towns around the county, or if they come to us thinking that we actually are the county authority responsible for homelessness, as it were. Are they aware that, I mean, it just raises lots of questions. So if we're going to take these separately, I'd rather abstain on this, because something doesn't feel right.
okay, thank you. Yeah, man.
I don't particularly imagine they confuse us with Buckinghamshire Council because the sum applied to is too small for that.
That's probably.
So I find that highly unlikely,
Yeah,
because
that's right.
if they were applying to the the major authority, they wouldn't be applying for £2,000. Wouldn't have thought so, and it wouldn't get you anywhere in Buckinghamshire as a whole. I do still. It's very, how will they afterwards show us that they've spent the money in Buckingham? So with that is the bit. I mean, I normally am more comfortable with supporting smaller, more specifically Buckingham-based charities, I have to say.
We do request a report from them.
Yeah.
Justifying what they spend
Okay,
money.
thank you.
Yeah. Jane?
From my experience in the charity world, everyone is desperate for money. And if they're doing something in Buckingham, we're all strapping down the back of the sofa to get £1,000 here or £2,000 there. If they are doing it in Buckingham and they report back on that, great that they're extending their services here. Sounds sensible to me.
I mean, the things you're pleased to see, isn't there? I mean, the Swan Community Hub do lots of good work around the town, and it's going to support children with STEM. That's really good. And we've got one at the top of the early autism support group, which is a marvellous thing to do, and that's going to support nurseries and be able to do stuff locally, and that's really good. That's going to make those small portions are going to make a difference between something special in them. So, and it's different to some of the grants that we've had in other years, and you can see it's types of grants we're getting now are for things which things that, well.
Of services, aren't they,
Services.
that we would have previously expected the council to have funded.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's coming across to us, but what I'm saying is that with this money, they may continue for longer, they probably spend the money wisely and do a good job. But it is a change in emphasis that's coming across to them. It's something that I think in future years we should discuss that, not negatively against individuals, but an understanding of how much it has changed. I don't think it's right, but and if you look at it, the North Bucks carers, you know, that's something that we have had before. So
Yeah.
that's never been a problem. And I have to declare interest on that. I had to go as a minder to one of their trips up the river, and I behaved impeccably. I had to.
Public record.
Public record, I behaved impeccably. No one complained about my presence anyway, and I did go up the river with them. I had to look after somebody as a carer, so that's what was there.
Okay, so what members feel are we going to have a proposal to accept the recommendation, or do you want to take the grant application separately, Robin?
I propose we agree with all the recommendations.
I will second that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so can we have a vote in favour of accepting the recommendation that we give the 1 year grants to those listed below? What have we got? Thank you.
Yeah, I'm abstaining.
Yeah, I was going to call that now.
Yeah.
No abstentions, John. No. Okay.
Yeah, I told you so.
Well, I think you probably have a right to, John, if that's the case.
Okay, item 7 is the annual community grants. 4 year. So we've got another report on there. Now, because the youth club is part of this, is it right, Mayor, that I hand over to you? On this one?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Just as it's about money to be 100% committee vote to appoint the mayor as the chair.
I propose we appoint the chair.
Thank you. Sorry to be pedantic.
Yeah.
No, that's not at all. Thank you.
Absolutely fine. Okay, so we have before us a recommendation that we make following payments to the recipients of our 4-year grants. And yeah, that's 1.1 and 1.2, that it's recommended that a working group be set up in the summer to review the 4-year grant process before the start of a new cycle. Yes, Robin.
I'm absolutely fine with the grant. What I think would be worth to be included in that cycle for next year is to have because when we started granting to some of these organisations, they were very different to what they are today. And when we started granting to the CAB, it was for visits out of this and whatever. I think it would be well worth getting some information for that discussion so that we can actually know what they're doing against what they did before.
They do some bit.
And I know, but we have to discuss it. It's I mean, we give them, if you imagine the amount of money we give them over time, and actually it's money well spent, don't get me wrong. And it probably prevents so much people losing their houses or other things. It's tremendous. But I think to understand what the service is in Buckingham and understand what they deliver in Buckingham against what they delivered in Buckingham at the start of the 4-year cycle of the grants, so that when we can assess what we're doing, because of course they were Buckingham and then it's Buckingham and Aylesbury, and now it's an Aylesbury stroke Buckingham thing, I think. So I think it is time that we looked at it. Not saying I want to stop giving them any money, but it'd be irresponsible as not to review it against, to make sure that the money we spend actually make sure that the people within the area of Buckingham benefit from it. And I think we have to make sure they do, because as much as there's going to be needy people in Aylesbury as well, but we should hope Aylesbury Town Council perhaps should be making a substantial grant. They have a larger precept than we do, so I hope they are. I hope they do sit similar, you know.
So as far as I can see it, that would sit very comfortably within the recommendation 1.2 anyway, because it just says that the working group be set up, and the working group can, of course, I think, decide on its remit. So is everybody? No. firstly, are we happy to take these two recommendations together?
Yeah.
Yeah, John,
I've just got one more thing to say about citizens' advice.
yeah,
And so I just made a note to myself. I really think that when the new, I mean, it's kind of extra popularised for this meeting, but I want to just state it anyway. So when the new community board is formed, which will include Winslow and us and all the neighbouring parishes, then I hope the community board begins to exert some pressure upon the parish councils to do what we've done, which is to have a penny per, I think, or a pound per resident to give a donation. Because right now, Winslow and Buckingham are holding, are supporting the CA, and I think we should carry on doing that. But I don't like the fact that a number of parish councils and therefore the other taxpayers around the area don't need to support it. I think they should, to make it fair. I'm just saying that, I'll put that on the agenda when it comes.
okay. Robin?
I think John makes a good point. We want them to contribute. Perhaps it's something that we could, when communicating what we actually give grants to, is included that that's why we came to the conclusion with the CAB. And maybe by discussing the fact that we've done that, they're not going to do it this year because they've set their precepts this year, but as time goes on, there'll be people in every parish, every village who use the CAB equally. Maybe if they had a little bit more money, they could do a little bit more. And that seems a really reasonable thing to ask. So I wouldn't mind suggesting we, through you, Chair, do a press release around that. Although this acting there, I think it would be only appropriate because people should see what we're doing. It has to be worded properly, but I think an encouragement. Not
yeah, I'm sure we
criticism.
can't release a press release that encourages other parish councils what they should or suggests what they ought to be doing with their money. I believe John's suggestion that the discussion ought to be happening through the reconfigured community boards. It's probably a better forum. So, and we make a press release, I believe, anyway, on the grants we do. So I'm not sure.
I think that maybe would it be better that we leave that to the new council and we ask the new council to make a press release around or something around that route. I don't want to confuse the issue, and I don't want to be beating people up because they often, but it isn't mentioned in the other place quite often that we could pay for this and we could pay for that. So I don't think the problem of mentioning who pays for what is an issue. So it's how it's done sensitively without actually upsetting anybody.
I would be inclined to kick this into the long grass until the new council, at least, because it is sensitive.
And rediscuss it.
By that time.
Okay, so do we have a proposer for the recommendations? Yeah. Robin, do we have, and seconders, John, all those in favour, please. And that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and abstentions 2. And there wasn't anybody against, was there?
No,
counted properly.
That's good, isn't it?
Okay, thank you. And in that case, with everybody's agreement, we will hand the chair back to the proper committee chair.
Thank you very much, Ma'am. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much for seeing. I can't tell you.
Okay, could we also give our thanks to our finance officer for these reports, please?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. John?
Are we going to do 1.2 separately? Instead of a working group?
No, we said we've taken together.
Together.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, fine.
Right, health and safety policy, item 8. Hopefully you've read the report. Recommendations that we recommend to full council. Apart from the errors, health and safety policy be adopted, and 1.2. Recommend that members recommend to full council that the new health and safety handbook be adopted. Mayor?
I propose that we accept both these recommendations.
Second that. Robin?
Happy to accept it just through you, Chair. The town clerk. Is there any changes to what it was before substantive?
It's a complete rewrite, but the gist of it is as you'd expect, and it's sort of been, recommended by our HR partners.
Yeah, just that sometimes there's changes and we don't notice them and then we discuss why they were changed.
Substantive changes to what we currently do. It's just laid out differently, it's updated for current legislation.
No, I'm sure it's fine. I should have asked that question, otherwise you know, it's a big issue and we want the safety of our employees should be paramount.
John?
We've not had a copy of it though, have we?
No,
So I'm,
Yeah, it's a link in the
That's not the agenda.
agenda.
oh, in the,
Yeah,
it's in the agenda, it's there, but it's just why I asked about the previous one, if I can't, unless I'm wrong.
Too big, John.
I can't see the previous one, you see.
John?
good point. But could I make the suggestion that it would be helpful to put the link in the report as well? Because I tend to go to the reports, once I've read through the agenda, I suppose, and repeating the link in the reports could be very helpful.
I thought mine did go straight to the report. Appendix D.
No, in where it says, how the item,
Oh, I
the
see.
report R 14624, page 32, it would be helpful to go to the link in there. Because that would have probably more likely prompted me to go and look at it than having it on the agenda.
I'll speak to Paula, but I suspect that's going to cause quite a bit of extra work. Because we'll finalise all the reports and then we compile it all into one.
Yeah, all right.
Exactly.
I'll try and be more.
We don't have to spend money.
So we've had agreed recommendation that we send them to full council. We happy to agree those?
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
We can discuss it
We
again.
have hands up, please, for agreeing that. Unanimous, thank you very much.
This bloke unanimous is doing well tonight.
Well,
Must be a Greek,
item
so-
9
so good.
is the draft financial regs. Working document feedback, and we've got a report from Claire and Steve. So Claire, would you like to say anything?
The financial regs have been completely rewritten. It's a totally different document. So there isn't really, it's not a case of just tweaking a few things here and there because it's a full rewrite. It's also a document that has to span teeny tiny councils where the clerk does 4 hours a week, all the way up to a massive council of £7 million turnover plus. So because there's so much to it, what Steve and I thought, we've gone through it, Steve's added quite detailed notes, I put some notes and comments in there. We thought we'd bring it to you for an initial first conversation and then we'll bring it back to the next meeting with a more finalised version. So this at the moment is very much just a working document, just to get any feedback or views that you've got. Don't need to do it now, as it says on there. If you've got any written feedback and you want to send that to Steve, if we can have it by Monday, the 17th of March, that'll give us time to process it and have a look.
Thank you. John?
Two things, I've already chatted with Steve about this, but I can't see the key that says what the various colours mean.
No, my apologies, I usually put in my report to say what different things mean, I omitted to do it on this occasion. Anything that's highlighted in yellow is, usually would be additions, but in this instance, it is options which are relevant to this council. It may have given us options in the model to say that the clerk can do something, or the RFO can do something, or the full council can do something, or a committee can do something. So the ones in yellow are the options that are relevant to this council, taken from what we've done before. Anything in highlighted blue and crossed through is stuff that either won't appear in the final document, for example, the write-up at the beginning, or options that aren't relevant to us, but are still in the document for, to show you. Items in green are bits that we're still working on, and they are in particular decisions that need to be made, primarily over limits and things like that. There are areas which are a little bit more complex. We haven't had a chance to go through more detail yet, and the comments that are read are from Claire or myself, either notes to each other or to members, to give some thought to those in particular, or be keen for feedback from members on, so that we can take the document forward. So my apologies, I forgot to put that in.
It's okay, so it's not, right. My second point was, if we are going to comment on this, it would be helpful to have it as a separate document and one that we could add comments to. Is that possible?
I suppose yes, but then I would get 10 versions of a document, which might be difficult to formulate the answers to.
Could it be Google Doc or something?
It may be more helpful if what I tend to do with documents with multiple people inputting it is to create an email reply, and then I would use the either the page number or the item number of the regulation, like regulation 5.3. This is my comment.
Okay, that's your good start.
That would be helpful for them, as I'm happy to do that.
Yeah.
Rather than trying to wade through 10 documents of feedback.
Yeah. Robin?
Yeah, I mean, big changes in 5.18. And the wording around 5.18 is something we really do need to consider. It's not anyway. Just vanished on me now. That's good, isn't it? I'll go to another iPad. 5.18. You go and look at it. It's about the spending thresholds, which are really quite a change to where we were historically. I actually understand. We discussed this before to make us raising the spending thresholds because of the cemetery, and we said, well, we're happy to have a report come back at when time permitted. So I think we do need to have a study about that. And I think the whole reason and rationale behind doing that really have to consider appropriately. Just go and find the wording on it again because it's vanished on me. See if I can find it. In it states about the chair being informed at the earliest point. Well, you could say that I get back down to 4.8. No, I don't know, then it'll vanish again. 4.8.
It's 518.
That's
518.
518. Thank you, Ken. Thank you. It vanished in front of the eyes, so we are where we are. I was trying to explain it. I apologise.
No, fine.
I think the word chair, I think if we do change it, the word needs to be chair of the relevant committee, and it should be if it's a full council thing, it should be the mayor, because the committee budgets are committees. It's in a committee budget, it should go to the committee. If it's in a big expenditure, it should go to full council. And the only committee really likely to spend is probably the Environment Committee might spend that sort of money. So it seems appropriate that the chair of that committee would be one, but it should say the chair of the committee because it's just referring it to a chair. Doesn't say who, where and what. And then we'll have a discussion about, were you the right chair? Am I the right chair? I think we need to get that word in. So it's got longevity. Because we'll have a discussion, why wasn't I informed? I am the chair, and they'll say, well, you're not the chair of that. So it needs to be specific of where it goes.
You've got that added in then.
Yeah, I think
What do you think, Glenn?
This will be precisely the kind of feedback that I would hope you would include in your
Yeah.
reply,
well,
please.
you
because
probably don't want my email, to be honest.
because then I've got the precise documentation from everybody as to what I can collate it from there.
I mean, when I look through it, most of it is sort of modernisation of the document. Most of it is this, but that's the biggest change to what we do, custom and practice from
Yeah.
and
Are you happy to put that in an email?
yeah, I'm happy to put it in an email.
Thank you.
But I've said it in a meeting. I don't know quite what more I can say really. That I just asked the officers to take that into consideration and come forward with a formal word. I can propose that in a meeting.
It'll be in the minutes.
And I think they'll come up with the most appropriate formal words. It's not for me to suggest that indirectly, but I just want to make sure the words are worded enough so that we don't have a discussion that I wasn't the person who consulted and you were. And that's what I'm trying to avoid, that issue coming up at a later stage. Why were they told, not me?
I was going to say on that one, this is an interesting one because the council officer protocol puts it at 25,000. This is literally for an emergency on a Sunday. A tree's about to come down, the roof's come off somewhere and we need to get something out and fix something straight away. It's not about general spending. And that's why it's as soon as we take a leave afterwards, because if I need to get a refurb on a Sunday and it's a health and safety matter, I'll just do it. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
what that's
Yeah.
authorising.
Just, you finished?
No, I haven't, no, I haven't finished. I was going to come back then. So have you got a section on that? Because we discussed the principle of allowing you to have bigger expenditure quite logically for the cemetery. Is that in this, or we're going to have to do it again?
Are you talking 515?
Is it 515? I missed it. I missed that one because it's a big number. I know it's a big number. Is it 515?
I think that's the one. Yeah. I mean, I would suggest members, it's probably not worth doing this now because you'll all have different ideas.
No,
It'd be
but
much better if we collect it all together and then we can bring something back that is,
It'll come back to
everybody's
us
had a
as well.
chance to have a good think about it.
yeah.
Okay, have you finished?
Yeah, I am. I finished now, Jane. I might start again in a minute, but I finished now.
You sure you finished?
No, I'm not.
Anyway, sorry, I must be sensible, I can't resist teasing you.
Won't make it in.
So, no, I know too as well. In another organisation I'm involved with, and I can understand why you have to have these lengthy financial, absolutely the document, but is it possible to have something more of a table? You know, what item, what limits, what, I mean, will there be a table that goes with this? Something slightly easier to, because this is all, you know, as colleagues are finding, it's a little bit sort of fiddling around, oh, is that there? I'm used to seeing something a bit more tabular. But again, it's just a suggestion, Claire, it's not to.
Can I ask for you?
I don't know
Chair,
what
what
I'm
cabinet?
going to do is based on the standard document that everybody uses.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we try not to vary too much. If you wanted one just for help decision making, I thought we can add one to the report if you wanted to. There aren't actually that many, it just looked. Just they're all on this page, but they are.
It's just a suggestion, but it just would help me. And others by the sound of it.
Yeah, that's happy to do that. Suggest something.
Yeah, I just want to know what tablet meant, really. It wasn't a word we used on the bottom.
Mayor?
No, I was just gonna say, can we move on to a decision on this one?
Usually I want to know what it means.
Let me go back up to the recommendations. Okay, so are we happy to provide written feedback to Steve on the 17th of March?
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Have a show of hands, back, please.
In a tabular
In a
form.
tabular form.
Thank you very much.
In a tabular form.
I don't do that.
Expert.
Okay. It's unanimous, thank you.
Get into trouble at Elon Musk.
Okay, by item 10, we've got our compliments and complaint log. I hope you've read all of these, John?
Yeah, I have read through them,
Yeah.
and obviously we're discussing them here, and this is a note that's gone out to all the council. But I do wonder whether some of the comments which are relating in some part because of the fare to TC&E ought to go to TC&E directly as well. And I wonder whether the comment about the discussion at the planning committee that the resident took was upset by. Whether that should have gone to planning as well for discussion, because obviously that relates entirely to the planning councillors. Here it's good to bring it all together.
Yeah.
But I wonder whether we ought to also alert the different committees as well.
Right.
Well, it's, yeah, I mean, environment has their own one because they tend to be the one that it's the buildings and the estates that we get the most comments on. So environment has a separate one. We've always brought everything else to resources for their overview. I mean, I would say TC&E do know about these comments because they were on the wash-up on the report, so
Okay.
they've been reported there. I admit I didn't take the final one to the whole of the planning committee, but it was discussed with the chair and the vice chair.
Okay. And it says the relevant members' action was done. Because I still vaguely remember this, but I also don't remember it. I think it might be helpful. I think sometimes discussions maybe do go a bit speculative at planning. And I wonder whether we just need to be reminded of that in the planning committee itself. That's a thought.
That is, yes. It was something I did discuss with the chair. Members may have their own views.
Okay, okay.
Okay. Anybody else got in?
I think the thing that we should take reassurance from leaving is how many of them are closed. And that they've been actioned and they've been dealt with and they're not open, which shows that officers have dealt with them in a timely manner and they've been closed unless we wish to reopen them for any reason. I think that's shows due diligence in the office and we should commend that.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I would say under the circumstances, and it's not blowing our organisation trumpet, but they are very few.
Yeah.
And they're noticeably, they're not about staff or
Yeah.
people not doing their job properly, or
Yeah.
they tend to be wider issues, so.
Yeah.
People having a cup of tea in their dressing gowns, I mean.
That wasn't staff, John.
You've never had a cup of tea in your dressing gown, John.
I'm joking.
Okay, so you're happy to accept these?
Aye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Right, item 11, quarterly banking reconciliations.
Jodie is in discussion, or should be trying to get hold of the vice chair in order to get him to come in and sign them off. They haven't happened yet.
Thank you. Item 12, updates from representatives from outside bodies. Do we have anybody that would like to say anything? Vote to resources. Robin.
Just to say that Buckinghamshire Council has set its council tax like we have. It was a very, say, fluid discussion about all of that. And we will hopefully receive our money from them in due course. As it usually is in 6 months. It seems quite unfair really that they keep our money for 6 months. You have it and have interest on it, so I'm sure there's a good reason for that.
Because they collect it monthly.
I know I'm joking. I know I'm saying that, but yeah, I mean, just to say that that's what it was. I mean, if you want to know what was said in the preset meeting, it is webcast. And there's a recorded vote on every item in the preset meeting, so you can see how your local members voted on which item, where and what. So that's a public record. And on the fire authority set its rate on the same principle and managed to bring it in kilter, which is a good thing. And both of them seem to be in balance at the moment anyway. So the fire authority is more probably for the long term. Obviously local authorities are immensely financially challenged at the moment. So they're in the thing which is worth noting with Buckinghamshire Council is the first time ever they haven't got a strategic reserve. And that's quite a notable thing for a council not to have a strategic reserve. And I think it's worth saying that's quite a large change to where they were once before, which means they haven't been able to budget for that. Quite what that means at the end of the financial year, only time will tell. And whoever inherits that after May will have the responsibility of dealing with it.
Thank you.
I believe that Councillor Statutory is referring to the contingency in the
That's the word.
not the strategic reserve.
The contingency reserve, thank you. You're obviously reading.
Thank you.
Not out of your head. Thank you.
Done with that one?
I think we are.
Yeah, thank you. Item 13, action report. To review and discuss, appendix F. Anybody got anything?
Noted.
in there? Noted, we happy? Yeah. Yeah. Yep. And I don't have any announcements.
Go on.
Right, date of next meeting, Monday, 28th of April, 2025. So we'll close this meeting if members